What's up, guys? This is Brave, and I'm back with another review of Grownish. This is season 3, episode 16, and the episode is titled All in Love is Fair. So let's go ahead and start talking about this episode because there's a few things to unpack here. So we actually start this episode off with Zoe and Aaron. We actually see them kind of hook up, and now she feels like, there's this chance for her and Aaron to be together. But next thing you know, he gets a text from Rochelle. And Rochelle wants to know where he's at because he's clearly MIA from her because he's with Zoe. So he gets up and leaves, and I feel like now that should have snapped Zoe back into reality of realizing that, this is, someone else's man now. Even though you have these feelings for Aaron, he's still in a relationship with Rochelle. So, we then see her and Anna, Zoe and Anna, they're walking around campus. I'm trying to figure out, how is Zoe walking around campus just freely, openly? Where is she going? I can understand Anna walking around campus because she goes to this school. She probably has class. How is Zoe there? Because there's no way that she's enrolled in school that fast, because this would be mid-semester. Make it make sense. But anyways, she's strolling around the campus, and baby girl has extra pep in her step. We all know why. And Anna is like, listen, I need for you to, chill out a little bit, because you're walking around on cloud 9 while you should be feeling guilty, because at the end of the day, you slept with somebody else's man. He's in a relationship with Rochelle. What are you doing? So then Zoe, she goes on about how, basically this is finally her and Aaron's time to become something, because they were, for all this time that we've known them, they have been almost together. They have been played by one another. So she thinks this is really the time for them to give it a shot. Then Anna, she actually realizes that maybe she's projecting, because she's having some feelings about Javi. What does she think about Javi? She thinks that he's cheating on her, because whenever he's in the room with her and his phone, I guess he turns the phone down. He puts it face down if he's sitting at a table. There's something going on, and Anna is trying to figure out what it is when it comes to Javi. So now we get back to the house, and the twins come home. Vivek makes this whole thing awkward because clearly he wants to support the girls, but he does not know how. He gives Sky this big hug, oh, you're an Olympian, all this stuff. And then while Jazz is next to her, he's like, oh, but you didn't make the team. And she's like, no, it's all good, it's fine, or whatever. And her and Doug end up leaving to go to her room, and Vivek, he ends up asking Sky, is your sister really okay? And Sky's her sister basically says everything's all good, and she doesn't want to talk about it any further. So clearly she feels some type of way, because out of both of the sisters, Jazz has so much more to lose, because she put her relationship on hold. You know what I mean? She kind of cheated, I guess, sort of, kind of, on her boyfriend because they were on a break. I'm not really sure what to call that. But yeah, she had to do all these extra things that Sky did not have to do, and Sky still made the team, and she did not. That sucks. But also, I'm trying to figure out why, since Sky has made it to the Olympics, why is everything so rushed within this entire episode surrounding the Olympics? And I will get there. I'll talk about that a little bit later. So now we see Luca and Jillian. two people who we haven't seen in a while. Like, at this point, I feel like there's going to be no point in having either one of these characters on the show anymore. So let me just go ahead and talk about what their little scene was about. We actually saw Jillian, she's packing stuff up so that she can leave. And I'm like, wait a second. He just came back from wherever he went, and she's talking to him and she's inviting him to Tokyo, like, oh, I'm going to Tokyo to go film Sky at the Olympics. And he's like, well, what do you mean just Sky? I thought Jazz was going too. And she had to tell him, like, oh no, Jazz didn't make it. She didn't make the cut. So he ends up declining her offer for him to come to Tokyo with her and go backpacking around because he needs to focus on Anti-Muse. Now, I can't remember if Anti-Muse was a painting or if that's a clothing line, because with Luca, it could be either or it could be both. As far as Luca and Jillian go, I just want to know why. Like, why is this happening? Why is she now going back to Spelman? Like, we have no connection with this couple, and it's bothering me, because why do we even have them on the cast if we were never going to have any connection with them? I digress. Let me go ahead and talk about the next scene. So we get back to Anna and Zoe. And Anna, she tells Zoe that she doesn't care that he had a girlfriend, that Aaron had a girlfriend, and she's basically willing to be his side piece. So Zoe is like, nah, I can never be, his side piece, because that's not even on brand for me. And I'm like, girl, you continuously play yourself out. Anything can be on brand for you, Zoe. So Zoe then starts up about how once Rochelle is removed, then, her and Aaron are about to have this perfect relationship, and it's basically like some fairy tale. And I'm like, Zoe, you need to bring it down a few notches, because he's clearly in a full relationship with another woman. Relax it a little bit. So after she goes on and on about her little fairy tale, this bubble that she just put herself in, that bubble bursts, because who does she see? Aaron and Rochelle. They are walking around campus, holding hands. So then she tries to run and get up and hide. And I'm like, girl, where are you going? You already made eye contact with Aaron and with Rochelle. What are you doing? She already saw you. But one thing I wanted to point out. Why is Zoe walking around campus? Can somebody please tell me why Zoe is there again? But whatever. So, we then see Aaron. He comes over to Zoe's house, and he's like, I'm just here. I just want to check on you. And she cuts him off, and he's like, oh, you're here to see how your side piece is doing. So Aaron is like, you're not my side piece. I know what happened between us. It was big for both of us. But what did you think would happen? Did you think that we would just magically be together? And as we know, that's exactly what Zoe thought. Zoe had it in her mind that she's about to, get her man. And Zoe was honest, you guys. She was actually honest in this moment. And she's like, yes, she expected that after she told him that she loved him and they hooked up, that they would be together. So Aaron, he goes on about how he needs time to think, because he's graduating. He still has the situation with the tuition dollars at Cal U happening. Now he has to try to figure out what girl he wants to be with. It's just a lot for him. And Zoe is like, okay, well, don't feel bad for me, because I played myself. And I'm like, well, you didn't exactly play yourself. You just kind of put your feelings out there, and then one thing led to another. But I wouldn't exactly say you played yourself. So, he's like, he cares about Zoe, and then he has to re-explain what happened between them. And she's like going on about how she's this side piece. And he's like, no, you're Zoe. You're the girl who floats in and out of my life whenever she wants, and then you screw with my head. Now, I will say that's a pretty accurate description of Zoe, just because Zoe and Aaron have had so much back and forth within these past 3 seasons. It's been ridiculous. But at the same time, I'm like, I can't fault Zoe completely, because at the end of the day, he hooked up with Anna, who happened to be one of her closest friends. Like, we're not going to fully blame Zoe as the person who, screws with his head when he does things that are flawed as well. Because I'm sorry, in the real world, there's no way Zoe and Anna would be friends if Zoe was really into Aaron and Aaron ends up hooking up with Anna. And I mean, like, they were together for like a while. Well, I wouldn't say together because they were never official. They would just hook up with each other. But they were hooking up for a while. This wasn't like a one and done situation. But I digress. So Aaron is like, in your mind, I'm supposed to just drop Rochelle, even though he cares about Rochelle, just so that they can be together. Now, this is the part that got me, because he was telling Zoe, like, oh, you want me to drop her so that we could be together while you run off and follow behind Joey Badass all around the world. So at this point, she has to tell him that she quit her styling job and is thinking about enrolling back at Cal U again. So that she storms off in the house. But I'm like, here's the thing. As far as the situation with him, making that decision of just dropping Rochelle, yeah, it's not that easy because he has been in a relationship with her for a couple of months. Now, as far as it goes to Zoe following Joey around, well, she's not even doing that anymore because she quit, styling him. My issue with this is, what was the point of us getting a whole storyline of her dropping out so that she can become a stylist for her to think about enrolling back at Cal U? Like, she could get another client to style. That's my thing. Like, all because you dropped one client, that doesn't mean that you don't pick up another client as a stylist. But you know what? I forgot. This was just storyline. I'm not even about to go into that situation. So let's go ahead and talk about Anna and Javi. So they're at like a diner and he's on his phone, but when she comes up, he like kind of hid his phone away and put it on the table. And he's like, okay, well, I'm going to go wash my hands. So now this is her big chance to figure out who Javi is cheating with. So she ends up picking up his phone and he has like 3 text messages from somebody named somebody. Like, he could have at least gave the person a different name, not just somebody, but whatever. I don't think that Javi is going to be cheating on her. I think it's going to be some other type of thing. I don't see him being a cheater, but we'll see what happens in the coming episodes because we did not get a resolution at the end of this one. So we now get to Sky and Jazz, and Jazz is over here cracking up because she's watching The Proud Family. I mean, I can't lie. Proud Family had a lot of funny episodes, and I just put my nephew onto the show. So I've been rewatching, and I've been laughing. But that's a personal story. Okay, so let me go ahead and talk about what happened between Jazz and Sky. Sky just comes by and asks if Jazz was mad at her because their lives have changed. So Jazz is like, no, I've told you how much I'm so proud of you and all these things. And Sky is like, yeah, that means a lot, but that's only half the story. Like, we were supposed to do this together. And Jazz, she just wants to forget the rest of it. Like, she does not want to think about how she didn't make, the Olympic team. So Sky is now mad at Jazz because she's like, I don't understand how you can just move on past this because this is the biggest thing that ever happened to us. And Jazz has to remind her, like, no, you made the Olympic team and unfortunately I didn't. But Sky is like, we've been working on this for 13 years together. And she just really wants to know how her sister feels. She wants honesty from her sister. And Jazz, she opens up. She's like, I'm humiliated and I'm embarrassed. And she's devastated that she can't continue this journey with her sister. And they have this sister moment where they start to like tear up a little bit and tell each other that they love each other. I will say that's probably my favorite scene that I've seen this episode, just because it would seem very realistic between them. also the fact that, okay, it bothers me that I get that both of them did not make the Olympic team, but I wish that it would have at least been like, oh, well, Sky and Jazz, they didn't get to compete in the same race, but, Jazz would compete in like a different race. Just because, like, if you know anybody who like runs track, most people who run track, they run different races. So like you can run like the 100-meter, you can run the 50-meter, you can run the 4x200 or whatever they're called. You can run in different races. So I'm just confused as to why they didn't have Jazz, make it. I don't know. Like, I just wish that they both would have made the team. Like, they both could have made the team. They could have just competed in different races. But I digress. This is how the show is. I'm assuming that this was done because Sky went on. I'm sorry, not Sky, but Hallie, she went on to film The Little Mermaid, which I'm so excited for. And I can't wait for that to come out. So, now we go ahead and get back to Zoe. Zoe gets a text from Rochelle, and the next morning she talks to the girls about it. And Anna is like, well, Rochelle deserves to know that her man strayed with the harlot. And I'm like, okay, the dramatics. The girls... Oh, also she ends up telling the other girls that Javi is cheating with somebody. So they get back to Zoe's situation, not Joey, Lord. To Zoe's situation, and they all think that she's about to get her ass beat because, well, she hooked up with Rochelle's man. So Zoe sends Rochelle a text, and Rochelle responds saying that, they need to talk face to face, and it's about Aaron. So we jump back to Jillian and Luca. Now they are at Zoe's house, like the group's house, and they're basically saying their goodbyes to each other. And I'm like, okay, but why are they saying goodbye to each other? Like, what is happening? Like, I'm not realizing that they're basically shipping Sky off to the Olympics, like, right at this moment. Which doesn't make sense because if you know anything about this, there's usually some time in between before you go to the Olympics. So I'm not even understanding why the show wrote this way. Because as we all know, the Olympics, this is going to be the Summer Olympics. It takes place in the summer. Their semester isn't even over for school. How are you shipping like 3 characters off just to the Olympics? That makes no sense. I don't even understand. But whatever. So we have Jillian, like I said, Jillian and Luca, they're saying their goodbyes. And then next thing you know, the group, they're having a toast to Sky going to the Olympics. And Sky and Jazz, they say their goodbyes. Jazz, she ends up telling Doug, like, I'm not doing okay with this. And he's there to console her. And I'm like, oh, look at them two. So glad they're back together. But like I said, why are we already going to Tokyo? It doesn't make sense. Like, it doesn't make sense that Jillian and Rodney will be leaving this close to the end of the semester so that they can support Sky, but Jazz isn't going. Like, you guys understand what I'm saying? Like, Jillian is going there to film Sky. Okay, but she still has other classes. Rodney is going to support his girlfriend, but he still has other classes. Jazz is her sister, and if you even watch the Olympics, you know that people's families go to the Olympics to support them. So unless she's going somewhere for training, I'm not understanding why all these people are leaving and Jazz is not going as well to support her sister. Whatever. So let's go ahead and talk about Zoe and Rochelle and their meetup. So they meet up. Zoe looking like she about to go fight somebody, but we all know Zoe can't fight, so she was going to lose the fight if there was one. And Rochelle is basically apologizing to Zoe, for telling her to fall back from Aaron, and now Rochelle wants all of them to be friends. So now Zoe feels bad. I mean, honestly, I thought that they were going to meet up and Zoe, not Zoe, Rochelle was going to ask Zoe to like help her throw a little graduation party or something for Aaron, because I think he's the only one that's supposed to be graduating this semester. Everybody else is supposed to be a year under him, which I always found to be very interesting, because I'm like, why didn't you guys have a few more people be upperclassmen? But whatever. That was pretty much that scene. Zoe feels bad now because she done hooked up with this girl boyfriend. But I'm like, girl, you still want your man, so how bad do you really feel? The last scene we see, Anna, she's trying to hack into Javi's tablet. Whatever. Nobody cares about that, because I thought that we were going to wrap up Anna and Javi's situation this episode. That's the first thing. Second thing, where was Nomi this whole episode? Did y'all see her? Because I didn't see her at all. That pretty much was the episode. Let me know what you guys thought about this episode, and go ahead and like, comment, subscribe to my channel, and I will talk to y'all in the next one. Bye, guys.